The story begins on May 19th, 2025, inside a dark and abandoned building. A bound man desperately asks what the soldier is going to do with him. Our protagonist looks down toward the panicked man. A gun is pointed at his face. In one smooth, violent motion, the protagonist tries without hesitation. Then he uses the gun to smash the prisoner's hand with a single blow. The hostage screams in agony, clutching his crushed hand, but the protagonist simply watches him with contempt and irritation. The protagonist is named Jiang Shan, and he calls the hostage a pathetic loser. Jiang Shan threatens him. He says he will talk eventually, so confess now. But his colleague cuts him off. The partner tells Captain to back off because this level of interrogation is against the rules. Furious, Jiang Shan shouts that he cares nothing about the rules and asks if his brothers died for nothing. He declares that the scumbag thereafter is in this building and that he will finish him today. Then the protagonist grabs the hostage by the hair and demands the password for a quick exit to the top floor in exchange. The prisoner just sobs silently. He doesn't say a word about the password. A moment later, the protagonist and the soldier arrive at a massive door on the upper floor. As they get to the door, Jiang's partner types the password they had managed to get. Seeing the panel is busted, Captain Jiang tells his partner to cover. With a powerful kick, the protagonist demolishes the door. Inside, a man in a white suit welcomes them. He says they've finally arrived. The blond man named Cam Lee says Captain Jiang made him wait a long time. With a mocking smirk, Jiang Shan says it seems young Master Chen was eager to meet him. Hearing this, Jiang becomes furious, red aura flaring, and asks if that man's wish was for gold. Then he says he'll catch him with his own hands and feed him to dogs. But Master Chen is not impressed. He laughs and with a smug grin asks Jiang if he thinks he already captured him. Jiang Shan screams and says backup is on the way. The blond man turns serious and says Cam Lee tells him Captain Glotch understands. Then confidently declares no backup is coming. Just then a gun is pressed to the protagonist's head and he freezes in shock. The gun is held by his own partner, who stands there and apologizes. The blond man shuts him down and says Jiang is just muscle, not brains, and in his next life he'll have plenty of time to think. Jiang, with red eyes, looks at his ex-partner in anger and betrayal. He curses the traitor, calls him a scumbag. In one smooth move, he tries to grab the traitor's gun, but the soldier stops him. Suddenly, a gunshot echoes, and the captain freezes in shock. As he falls to the ground, he realizes this was all a trap from the start. He understands this ambush was set to wipe out the Dragon Force team. Jiang bitterly regrets not having eliminated the infant earlier. He had spent his life fighting evil, but never noticed the enemy was right beside him. Lying on the ground, barely hanging on, the soldier wishes he could do it all over. He swears that if he could be reborn, he would change his fate by eliminating everyone. But he thinks that's impossible, like a do-over can never come. Suddenly, a mysterious voice calls him classmate and asks if he's okay. A boy with glasses looks at him with concern, as the protagonist is still dazed. When he opens his eyes, he's shocked to see he's in the body of a young student. The classmate defensively says he's not a pervert. He just seemed to be spaced out standing there. Still confused, Jiang Shan asks if he's a student. The boy confirms the question without really understanding. Our hero grabs him and shouts that this is hideout, but the kid says this is school. The boy replies that today is April 13th, 2015, and the other students think his mind is broken. The students move away, calling him weirdo. Looking at the date, the protagonist is stunned. He leans against a locker and tries to process that he has time traveled. Looking at his reflection in the mirror, he finally realizes that he has been reborn. Shocked, he slaps his face to confirm it's not a dream. With a sinister grin, he realizes this is his new reality. Living means his enemies will now receive tragic ends. Just then, 3 girls walk by in the hallway, talking about a variety show. The girl with purple hair catches sight of him and becomes suspicious. She confronts him and says she wasn't pleasing him. The girls think he's gross because he's just standing there with a nosebleed, and they walk toward the showers. As he watches them, the protagonist recalls that today is April 13th. A terrible scene flashes in his mind. A slipper and a ball on the floor. In his memory, the girl with purple hair lies lifeless on the bathroom floor. The soldier, sister, decides with a W-style glare that from today he will rewrite his life. Then he overhears 2 girls wrapped in towels near the school gate discussing a creep. The protagonist knocks on the locker room door to get their attention. Jiang asks if he can come in briefly to get water. He explains the classroom building ran out of water and shows his empty bottle. The girl complains to the school and warns him not to look around. As he fills his bottle, the soldier begins to execute his plan. He remembers this is exactly the same place where tragedy occurred in the past. So he decides to check the time because one important thing must be confirmed. The clock hits exactly 1:15 in the afternoon, and he thinks covered coincidences create fate. Suddenly, a girl runs out and screams there's a peeping Tom in the showers. Hearing this, the protagonist realizes everything is happening exactly as he remembered. Seeing that creep run, he knows the day of tragedy has finally come. He remembers that back then, the clock showed exactly 1:15 p.m. His eyes glow red, and he braces himself to face the situation head-on. This is the very moment that once determined his destiny. And now he's going to change everything. A flashback shows April 12, 2015, when a crime happened at school. That day, a creep entered the locker room, and when spotted, he panicked and fled. He remembers he had a chance to stop the tragedy then, but the desperate criminal was ready to do anything to escape. His past self froze completely. He couldn't react. He only felt overwhelming fear. He sat covered on the floor. He didn't have the guts to interfere. The intruder then entered the shower and attacked a girl who was showering. The victim transferred from the school and never returned. Everyone else forgot the case, but it haunted him always. In the end, he left school and joined the army. After joining Special Forces, he became a ruthless soldier. He was warned many times for breaking discipline, but the pain in his heart never faded. He couldn't understand how worthless people ruin others' lives and then go on to live a normal life. Gradually, he became even more merciless with his enemies. That's why the protagonist started being known as the fearsome lone wolf. Back in the present, a girl screams, "Don't let the intruder get away!" Our hero thinks he should go after Chen's shadow, but other things matter more right now. The criminal once again threatens everyone with a knife. He says, "Step back!" But the protagonist wants to correct some regrets from his past life before anything else. He believes there is only one way to deal with scum, and that is violence. Jiang tells himself that this time he will not fail. Then our hero shouts at everyone, "Get out of the way!" Without a second of hesitation, he charges. He throws his water bottle down. The bottle shatters, water splashing everywhere. The intruder is hurt and shouts, "Who's responsible?" But before he can react, he's completely confused. He sees a reflection of the approaching protagonist in his eyes, and before he can defend, our hero leaps into a powerful attack. With a devastating kick, he mercilessly hits the intruder's head. The impact is so strong the man crashes violently into the wall. Even after hitting the ground, the criminal writhes in pain, yet still holding the knife tightly. Jiang is shocked that after such a powerful blow, he is still conscious. Then he loosens his tie and thinks, this body demands even more training. The criminal rises, cursing, raising the knife, and yelling that he will finish the hero now. But the protagonist easily dodges the blow. The attacker is fully stunned. The hero immediately grabs his wrist and stops the blade. Then, with a precise kick, he breaks the attacker's arm. The knife falls. But he doesn't stop there. He unleashes a fast, brutal series of blows. The intruder's face is completely busted, and his life flashes before him. At last, the criminal falls to the floor completely knocked out. The protagonist watches the thug groan on the ground. With a cold stare and zero compassion, his eyes burning with pure fury, he says, "You come back." Then he prepares for one more attack. Without hesitation, he starts punching the downed intruder relentlessly. One brutal blow after another hits his face, giving no chance to defend. Jiang then grabs his hair and pulls him up. With disgust and contempt, he says, "No matter how much time passes, seeing this face still disgusts me." Then a female voice calls out to him. His classmate and his rage break. The young woman with purple hair warns him, "If you keep hitting him like this, I'll send you off to the graveyard box forever." Looking at her, the hero finally remembers who she is and falls silent. Even acting like the hero, she says, "Stop staring at me like that." Blushing, she adds, "The whole situation is a little embarrassing." The protagonist studies her quietly for a moment, processing what just happened. Then the cops arrive. Sirens blare. The prisoner demands a toilet, but a cop tells him to shut up. Then an older officer comes forward and praises the hero's takedown technique. He asks if he ever took special training. The MC replies that he learned everything just by watching flashy moves on TV. The cop is skeptical and says not even cops can learn that just by TV. To test him, the officer makes a quick hand movement to catch him off guard and asks, "Did TV teach you that too?" The MC immediately reacts. He stops the attack with just a glare. His eyes glow intensely red, and he tells the officer, "Choking a civilian isn't proper procedure." The cop is shocked by the MC's killer aura and wonders, who is this kid after all? At that moment, a female officer grabs the older officer's hand and stops him. It's the same purple-haired girl who earlier stood up for him, and she says she can testify on his behalf. But looking at the MC, she adds, "You didn't need to rough him up so badly." The hero is speechless. He just processes it all. A few hours later at night, the hero arrives near his old apartment building. He climbs the stairs and opens the door to his home. Inside, his mother is standing behind him. The hero says, "Mom, I'm home." She turns angrily and asks, "Why are you late?" Lecturing him, she says he's getting worse day by day and tells him to go wash his hands. Tears fill his eyes, and in an emotional tone he calls her. Without thinking, he hugs her from behind. His mom is shocked. She asks whether someone bothered him on the way. Then she makes a big dinner. Sitting at the table, his mother says her son looks strange and asks if he's okay. She thinks maybe it's the pressure at school. But the MC says everything's fine. The hero promises that from now on he will listen to her. But Mom says, "Stop the nonsense." Smiling, she says, "Just finish school and get a good job." The hero thinks this is how his mom always lectured him when he was alive. Looking out the window at the moon, he takes a long, thoughtful breath. Lying on his bed, he misses the days when he didn't have to worry. He reflects that for ordinary people, simple happiness demands everything, but for evil people, destroying that happiness is very easy. Clenching his fist, he decides that with this second chance, he will change the world. Looking at the family photo, he swears he will leave no regrets behind. The next morning, the MC goes to school like a normal day. At the entrance, an old man greets him. On the way, some girls comment that he looks handsome. A teacher also comes and says the principal is going to give him an award. The young man is surprised. All this fuss because he saved someone. He wonders if the classroom Wi-Fi will be as big a deal. As soon as he enters the room, everyone points at him and talks about the door-kicking incident. Then his one friend comes up and says, "His moves yesterday were insane." Our hero offers to teach him, and the boy excitedly calls him master. Amid all the excitement, a blonde kid taps his pen on the desk, annoyed, and complains that it was just a small fight, and he doesn't understand why our hero is becoming so big. Angry, he slams his hand on the MC's desk to demand attention. Our hero then looks at him and asks what the class rep wants from him. Yang says that the MC was the only one who didn't submit English homework. Sarcastically, the MC pulls out his homework and says maybe that makes him special. Then he offers the assignment to Yang, calling him Master, ironically. But with a quick move, the class rep tears the homework into pieces. Smiling victoriously, Yang says the assignment doesn't count now. Then he orders our hero to read the English homework aloud immediately. The pieces of paper scatter on the desk, and everyone watches. Our friend, irritated, asks why Yang tore his homework. Then a big bruiser comes and says he should rewrite it 10 times. The bully won't back down and asks if he's looking for a fight. The big guy tells him to shut up and warns him. Our hero then stands up and says he'll rewrite the assignment so the friend's work gets done. But with his red glowing eyes, he stares at the class rep and demands an apology. Yang is shocked by the hero's courage and asks why he should apologize. The MC answers, because of his lousy attitude. Speechless, the class rep becomes furious. Then the bruiser jumps on him, shouting to watch his tongue, but the hero easily dodges his punch. The big guy is stunned. Angry, the attacker complains that he's really good at dodging. Meanwhile, a pink-haired girl enters the classroom door, unaware of the fight. The bruiser shouts that this time she won't get away. The girl freezes in fear. He rushes at her, but she stands right in his path. Danger evident, the MC's expression turns serious and wary. He dashes to the girl and pulls her away from the punch. Then he asks if she's okay. The girl says nothing major, just a scratch, but clearly she's shaken. With red glowing eyes, the hero glares at the attackers and says they've gone too far. Then he jumps onto the bruiser's bag and locks his arm in an arm lock. With a smooth move, the MC twists the bully's arm a little. The big guy screams in pain, holding his hand, and the hero coldly stares him down. Seeing this, the class rep lifts a chair and angrily charges at the MC. But the MC reacts just as fast. Yang doesn't get a chance to react, and the MC grabs his throat. The hero drags him hard and throws him against the window. Then he readies his punch with full force, but before the punch lands, a teacher arrives and complains that the hero increased the fight too much. He accuses the hero of enjoying winning over others. The red-haired girl tries to defend the MC, saying the other boy started it, but the teacher tells her to shut up and orders the MC to his office. Then he's taken to the school's Dean of Discipline's office. The dean scolds him directly for fighting with Yang Thinye. The hero asks, should he just quietly take the beating then? Because Yang started it. The dean warns him that Yang's father is powerful, and even the principal doesn't dare offend him. He says young people are hot-headed, but sometimes you just have to keep quiet. Then he sends him off, behave going forward. Outside, the MC repeats the dean's words quietly. Looking at the sky, he reflects. He thinks, even if he wants peace, trouble always finds him. Back in class, his friends excitedly welcome him. They call him hero and say what he did to the bully was awesome. At that moment, the red-haired girl brings him a drink. She thanks him for helping and says she's glad he's safe. Hidden at the door, the bruiser watches with pure rage. He punches the wall in anger. Furious, the MC once again steals the spotlight. The big guy then suggests gathering 10 people after school to jump our hero, but the class rep says there's no need. He admits he was too impulsive earlier. He claims only inferior beings admire brute force. His friend is confused. The blood kit guy explains that the world runs on rules, and those who know how to use the rules become the rulers. Smiling, he says those people become the rulers of everything. At that moment, the blonde kid takes out his phone and calls a man named Uncle X. With a superior attitude, he says he needs to ask him one question. Then he asks, what's the best way to send someone to juvie? Back in class, the hero sees his classmate attempting to imitate his fighting moves. He lets out a battle cry and practices his moves in the middle of the room. Then the student asks him what he thinks about his kick, but the MC warns him, don't overdo it. Just then, another student calls someone and shifts attention. The MC and his friend look toward the classroom door, surprised by the unexpected visitor. It's the purple-haired girl he saved, and she asks if Jiang Shan is in this class. Everyone, stunned by her beauty, wonder how the new guy got a chance at the school knockout. The hero's friend then nudges him and says, obviously she's here for him. In the hallway, the girl brings up what happened and asks if he's free tonight. Then she gives him a business card and explains her father personally wants to thank him. On the card is written Lin Jabang, Eastern Theater Command, a specific military unit. Reading the name, our protagonist is completely shocked because he immediately recognizes the man. In his memory, he recalls he was the youngest person ever to become Major General. Back in the present, the hero takes the card and says, cleaning out trash was just my duty. Finally, he says, tell the commander there's no need to worry about this. Returning to class 15, the hero enters the room and goes straight to his seat. Then his friend asks, what did Lee want, and jokes that her dad wants him to marry her. But Yang Thinye interrupts immediately, saying the principal wants to call him to his office. The class rep flashes a sly grin, happy his plan is working. Arriving at the principal's office, our young man meets an obviously furious older man. The older man yells that if Haw doesn't recover, he'll hold this boy responsible. But the MC glances at the report and with a smirk notices the ink is still barely dry. Annoyed, he slams his hand on the desk and asks if he doubts the hospital report. Our guy thinks, but I barely touched his head. This is all just Young's tricks. Then he yells, say something because the report is right here. Leaning in with a challenging glare, the young man says, let's take a short hospital visit then. He looks the principal in the eyes and warns him, don't get involved, and what exactly does Young's father's power amount to? The principal is shocked and points at the boy, wondering how he's this sharp. At that moment, the office door swings open with a bang. Interrupting their conversation, police officers enter and take the hero away as a suspect for an intentional assault. As he's escorted by fake cops, the protagonist sees Yang Thinye with a victorious M grin. The class rep scolds him, can you really afford this fight? But our young man just smiles and says, don't be so quick to celebrate. The show has just begun. In the interrogation room, a man shouts that Ha Chong has 3 fractured ribs. Then he throws the medical report on the table and demands the hero confess the crime. The fake cop continues the charade and asks why he attacked his classmate so violently. But the MC suggests they check Ha Chong's phone transfer records. With a steely gaze, he warns him, until my lawyer arrives, I won't say a word. The next guy asks if the surveillance camera was on, because they don't even have a warrant. Then he points out their procedural errors and calls their interrogation methods amateurish. The men in the room freeze. They think, how does this kid know so much about police procedures? Then our young man demands that their superior be brought in, someone who knows the rules. Just then the police chief, Dong Li, enters the room, and the fake cops greet him. The chief tells the young man that rules don't apply to everyone. Then he slides a confession across the table and says, sign this. You messed with the wrong guy. He offers to reduce your sentence by 3 years, but the young man remains silent. With a smirk, he says, sounds like you're bending over backwards to please young Tian's father. Then he guesses that this guy is just a deputy chief scrambling desperately up the corporate ladder. The MC warns, those who climb dirty always get a hard fall. Furious, the man shouts, shut your mouth right now. He grabs the MC's collar and threatens he'll take action. But a gun is brought in and someone announces, we've just received orders from the command headquarters. Hearing this, the man pales and releases the MC, shocked by the unexpected call. Our hero says, go answer the phone. I can wait. The deputy chief wonders why command is calling now and suspects this has to do with the boy. As he reaches for the phone, the MC taunts, "Don't you know how to answer a call?" The voice on the other end orders the boy's immediate release. It's an order. The corrupt cop tries to argue about procedure but is clearly terrified. Then the door bursts open and 2 soldiers storm into the interrogation room. Officer Eisenach enters complaining about bureaucracy and introducing himself as Lin's subordinate. The deputy chief, frightened, says bursting in like this breaks procedure. The officer says, annoyed, "This guy just keeps talking about procedure." Then he points his gun directly at the corrupt cop's face and says, "This issue will be solved right here in the interrogation room." The deputy chief tries to smooth things over by saying, "The MC's fine, nothing happened." But the soldier glares in anger and asks, "Why did you arrest a member of the Lin family?" The man stutters. The young hero smiles, thinking, "I'm a little late, but I came just in time." A flashback shows the protagonist handing his business card to his friend in class and saying, "If I don't come back, call this number." Presently he reflects, if he'd not been conscious, Yang Tianli's father would have taken over. The officer pulls out paperwork and orders the corrupt cop to sign so the boy will be released. The man thinks, this soldier is a lunatic with a gun in a police station. The papers are handed over and he realizes the young family took on the wrong people, the powerful Lin family. The cop understands that with military backing, this young man isn't ordinary. In the car, the protagonist asks the officer, wasn't carrying a gun a violation of discipline? The officer says the gun wasn't loaded and nobody knows. Then he turns to the young man, "Thanks for saving the commander's daughter." The MC shakes his hand and says, "Uncle Lin once saved my life too. Now we're even." The soldier mentions he heard the boy is skilled and wants to see it for himself. The handshake tightens and the officer clearly starts testing his strength. Our hero realizes the man is testing his skills. Suddenly, the officer throws a quick punch and says it was just curiosity, but the MC easily dodges and the soldier praises his reflexes. Then the MC attacks and the officer narrowly dodges. Laughing, he enjoys the situation. The fight continues in the back seat of the car. The driver becomes tense. Watching in the rearview mirror the scene, suddenly the driver spots a problem ahead, a military patrol. They immediately stop. The car smoothly passes the checkpoint. When the soldier releases the steering wheel guard, he exhales relieved they weren't caught. Then he remembers he's not the one filing the report. Finally, they arrive at their destination. In front of a plain-looking building, the officer guides him inside and says the commander is waiting upstairs. Hearing that, the young man walks straight toward the stairs to meet Lin's father. Outside, the officer complains to his peer about the penalty and the MC's insane combat skills, but the protagonist calmly climbs the steps. Entering the room, he sees Lin's father standing with his back turned. He greets him, "Uncle Lin." The man turns and introduces himself. "Finally got the chance to meet you in person." The commander then offers a cup of tea as a sign of gratitude. Seated at the table, the MC thanks him. But the soldier says, "Actually, you should thank him." With a serious expression, the commander says, "Without you, my only daughter would be lost." The young man smiles and replies, "Upholding justice is every citizen's duty." The commander is impressed by his debt-free attitude and praises his noble conduct. Then he places a folder on the table marked "Top Secret" and tells the MC to look at it. As the MC reads the document, the soldier remarks, "Deputy Chief Yang is getting bolder." Inside the folder are photos of Yang and his father. The man talks about pruning trees and concludes a tree needs regular trimming. Indirectly, he suggests action against the Yangs. The commander says the young man made a move, but he won't be getting away much longer. The MC immediately recalls something very important from his past life. He remembers it was around this time in his previous life when young Tianli's father was arrested and 6 million in bribe money disappeared, only recovered in 2024. In the present, the soldier asks, "What are you thinking about?" Our hero, with a cunning smile, is already forming the revenge plan. Then he says, with a killer grin, he's beginning to plan revenge. He asks, what will Deputy Chief Yang's reaction be if his house suddenly blows up? The alarm clock blares at 3 a.m. and our boy gets ready for his new mission of revenge. He quickly turns the alarm off, keeps things quiet, and starts the plan. He checks his watch to make sure everything is running on schedule. Then he preps a backpack with everything needed for the mission. With a confident smile and wearing a cap, he gets ready to execute the plan. He types a message and walks out of his room while his mother is peacefully sleeping on the living room couch, dreaming about her son and the Yangs. He promises her he'll be back soon and carefully closes the door, trying not to wake his mom while leaving. After a little while, he arrives at his destination. Staring up at the luxurious young family mansion, he notices security cameras everywhere. Moving through the shadows, he thinks, classic crooked official move, just like Young's dad. After scouting the area, the young man finds a blind spot with a perfectly clear entry view. He sets a countdown on his watch for break-in time. The moment the timer hits 0, he steps onto the wall and launches over in a flash. In one swift move, he clears the wall and lands silently in the bushes on the other side. Crouched in the bushes, he exhales in relief, forgetting he still needs to stay unnoticed. Then, he remembers the old news from his past life about money hidden in the garden decorations. Looking around, he wonders what kind of decoration could be big enough to hide cash. Then, he notices the fountain in the courtyard's center and suspects it might be the hiding spot. With a sharp eye, he analyzes the fountain's structure, looking for anything out of the ordinary. Getting closer, he realizes the fountain is running for no reason, wasting electricity. Suddenly, an epiphany hits him about where the money is. Meanwhile, a security guard yawns at the bottom of the mansion steps during his nightly patrol under the moonlight. The guard grumbles that nobody would be crazy enough to rob the deputy chief's house. Total waste of time. Just then, he hears a strange noise and suspiciously stops his rounds. He yells out, "Who's there?" Scanning with his flashlight, he relaxes with relief when he sees only a fat cat peacefully meowing at the fountain's edge. Thinking it was just the cat, he continued patrol. The cat looks back and meows again. Turns out the cat was actually attacking the protagonist, who emerges from inside the fountain, soaking wet. Inside the fountain, he finds the money and understands why it was never confiscated before. But it's $6 million and his backpack isn't nearly big enough to carry it. Then, he spots a wheelbarrow nearby and gets an idea to use it to haul the cash. The young man stuffs the stacks of bills into plastic bags and tosses them into the wheelbarrow. As he pushes the wheelbarrow, he's already thinking about how to use the money, like buying a house or making investments. Overjoyed, he walks down the street, but suddenly a car speeds toward him, screeching to a halt right in front of him, nearly running him over. A drunk Yang Tian staggers out, wishing the protagonist a nice day in jail, then kicks the bag of money, calling it trash. But as he kicks it, he feels it doesn't feel like trash. Confused, he takes a closer look. His eyes widen. The bag is full of cash. He wonders if he drank too much. The hero sneaks up behind him and delivers a precise chop to the back of his neck. The rich kid drops cold instantly. The MC says before calling someone, trash should really take a good look in the mirror. Looking down at the unconscious bully, the protagonist reflects that driving drunk without a license is the perfect example of a spoiled brat. Angrily, he kicks the fallen bully and mutters that his mom was right about the father and son. At that moment, he pulls a large knife from his backpack. Weapon in hand, he stares seriously at the unconscious rich kid. A wicked grin flashes across his face as he says the kid isn't worth the trouble, but he'll leave a little parting gift. The young man grabs the bully's hair, preparing his plan. With a swift motion, he starts hacking away at the boy's hair. Strands fly through the air. When he's done, he stands up and remarks he didn't expect this kind of work to be so tiring. The bully now has a completely butchered haircut. Smiling, he hopes the class president enjoys the surprise when he wakes up. The next morning in the apartment begins like any other. His mom bursts into the room, yelling for him to wake up, but he just mumbles, "For 5 more minutes." Mom warns that if he's late, he'll miss breakfast, and adds that she's heading to the temple to pray. Then she mentions some weird things, like a knife with hair on it and puddles of water on the floor. Exhausted, he just listens as Mom asks whether he was sleepwalking again. At the Young family mansion, someone happily hums while walking home from the street. The mansion's security guard is heading home, glad his shift is over. Suddenly, he freezes, shocked by an unexpected sight in the middle of the street. He sees the rich kid on the ground, angrily kicking and yelling at him to wake up. The bully wakes up furious and demands who dares talk to him like that. The guard becomes terrified when he realizes it's the young master. The brat complains about a splitting headache and yells at the man for being loud so early. Running a hand through his hair, he feels something strange and spiky. Hair falls to the ground. He goes completely silent, stunned, teeth clenched in rage, wondering who is responsible. Then he screams that his father better destroy whoever did this. The guard is horrified. If someone can mess with one young, they can easily go after another. The brat runs home screaming for his father to punish whoever wronged him. His dad calls out to stop, then freezes at the shocking scene at the front door. The bully turns pale, unable to believe what he's seeing. 2 officers are escorting his father away. The boy screams in desperation, trying to stop them from taking his father. An agent asks if he is Yang Tianli, and the bully angrily confirms. The officer explains he's from the anti-corruption department, and his father is suspected of major violations. The rich kid stands completely frozen, unable to process anything. His father turns and says, "Son, this time, even I can't help you." Tears fill his eyes as he watches his father say goodbye and tells him to take care of himself. The bully screams as his father is taken away. The next day at school, a friend tries to wake the young man sleeping on his desk. His friend breaks the news about Young's father being arrested. Confused by the protagonist's lack of surprise, he asks why. The young man replies, "What goes around comes around," and tells him to be quiet. The classmate asks why he's so tired and mentions he smells a little damp. He lies, saying he went fishing at the river and caught over 200 pounds of fish. A flashback shows the huge political storm that rocked the city in his past life. The protagonist knows this event was the beginning of the major crisis in the region. Watching the news, the young man realizes Young's father was arrested earlier this time. He reflects that his rebirth might have slightly altered the original timeline. Putting that aside for now, he focuses on how to spend the $6 million he just scored. His main goal is revenge, but this amount isn't enough to take on Chen. So he considers making investments to grow capital and fund his plan. The first idea in his mind is buying a building and renting it out for steady income. He thinks about how poor he'd been for so long. Becoming a landlord is the most reliable option. Walking through an alley, he regrets not studying more in his past life. Suddenly, he sees a group of thugs attacking someone and complains about the terrible neighborhood security. Since he's the shortest one in the crowd, he decides just to cross his arms and wait for the fight to end. The attackers yell at the victim while the man on the ground begs them to stop, saying he has no money. The man curls up, shielding his head, pleading for his life. The protagonist suddenly recognizes the victim and thinks how pathetic it is for the school principal to be beaten like this. One thug grabs a bat, preparing to deliver the final blow. Without hesitation, the thug swings with full force. The man screams in pain. The principal feels a wave of agony as the bat brutally slams into his head. The powerful impact knocks him out, and he collapses completely motionless on the alley floor. The delinquents gather around, wondering whether he's still breathing. One attacker decides to check and raises the bat again to strike. But at the exact same moment, a sudden noise grabs everyone's attention. The attacker turns around, shocked to see our young man standing right in front of him. Without a second thought, our MC lunges forward and lands a powerful kick on the delinquent. The blow is so strong, the thug goes flying and crashes to the ground, unconscious. The others are stunned by what they just witnessed, wondering where this kid even came from. The principal slowly lifts his head and with great difficulty looks up at his savior, shocked when he recognizes him. He yells, "You're Jiang Shan!" The protagonist smirks and gives a sarcastic greeting, asking what he's doing here. While the thugs groan on the ground in pain, the hero and the director survey the chaotic scene around them. After a moment, the director recognizes the boy and, surprised, asks what the heck he's doing in an alley like this. The hero simply smiles and replies, "I was about to ask you the same thing." He questions how a school director ended up in a mess like this. The flustered director makes up a story about doing a surprise inspection to see how things are going. The hero helps him up and pokes fun at the secret mission, pointing out his complete lack of danger awareness. The director, a bit embarrassed, offers the MC a job as a bodyguard, but the MC says he has something else to discuss. The director invites him to talk in his car and starts pressing him about his potential as they walk. Reaching the car, the director complains about how these punks never know when to quip. Inside the vehicle, he wipes his sweat and grumbles that impulsive teens don't think about consequences. The protagonist asks him if he's trying to get a rise out of him, and the director realizes the guy is also a teenager. He quickly apologizes, saying this one is different, and thanks him for saving his skin today. The MC turns serious and says the old district security needs a major overhaul and fast. The director agrees but nervously smiles and asks about Officer Lin. The hero says his concern is purely about safety, while the director wants tangible achievements to climb the ladder. The director is confused by his words. The protagonist just tells him to keep his eyes on the road. Then he reveals there's a way to get rich, but he needs a trustworthy partner. The director, suspicious, asks what kind of get-rich scheme this is. The MC mentions that the eastern part of the old district is about to be demolished. The director is floored and starts trying to piece together the plan to cash in, excitedly shouting about moving in early. But the MC tells him to watch the road and calm down, saying it'll take a ton of money and the right connections. With a confident air, the hero says he already has the money, and he'll take care of building the connections himself. Then, with a smile, he asks, "Don't you want to set something aside for retirement?" The director starts sweating bullets, thinking it's risky but tempting. He finally accepts the partnership, saying, "From now on, you're my nephew. You can count on me for anything." While driving, the director asks the young man how he found out about the demolition and whether the Lin family is involved. The next day, the young man strolls into school as calm as always. In the classroom, all the students are focused on studying for exams. Suddenly, a hand covered in scrapes slams down hard on a desk, startling everyone. A hooded figure calls out the hero's name. He turns, surprised, wondering who it is. The figure kneels in front of everyone, desperately begging for help. Then the hood is pulled back, revealing Young, crying, admitting his mistakes, and pleading for his father to be saved. The boy clings to the hero's leg, saying only he can intercede with the Lin family. At that moment, he bows deeply in humiliation, and the hood falls away, revealing a completely bald head. The class stares in shock at the shiny, bald scalp of the former bully. Classmates whisper among themselves, speculating what happened, while the bully cries in shame. Furious, he screams at everyone not to look at him, but the shadows of his classmates' mockery pierce him with pain. The hero, remembering what he did, smirks and asks, "Didn't you like my handiwork?" A flashback shows the rich kid blaming a random barber for the ridiculous haircut. The protagonist tells him to get up. A man shouldn't kneel so easily. With a glimmer of hope, Young looks up and asks, "Are you really going to help me out of this?" The hero shuts him down cold. "Your father was arrested according to the law. nothing can be done. Instead of pulling strings, cooperate fully with the investigation. With a cold look, our young man adds, "Cut the drama. Class is about to start." The former bully collapses in tears, and the protagonist just watches him. Then the bully gets to his feet and swears he'll ruin the hero's entire life. His friend jokes, maybe Baldy will put a curse on you to go bald too. That night, outside an old building, one of Young's lackeys asks, "Is this really necessary?" Baldy walks up and barks, "Shut up and get everything ready. We'll have our revenge one way or another." The henchmen light the fuse on a Molotov cocktail, prepping for the attack. One guy gets scared and tries to convince the leader to give up, saying arson is a serious crime. But the leader grabs him and assures him it'll just look like a simple accident. He then clears the way toward the building, swearing to burn everything the MC owns to the ground and drag him to hell. A hand gets ready to throw the flaming bottle. "Welcome to oblivion." Suddenly, from up in a tree, the MC calls out, "Baldy, are you composing poetry down there or what?" Young jumps and yells, "Who's there?" but quickly recognizes the hero's voice. The figure smirks and says, "Looks like fate brought us together again." Baldy and his goons look up, totally stunned, as they see the hero in the tree, smirking, red eyes glowing. The hero asks, "So what were you guys planning down there?" Baldy, rattled, orders his two goons to attack, but they hesitate, clearly terrified. Seeing their cowardice, Baldy explodes with rage, questioning their loyalty. A pathetic argument breaks out between the goons over who should face the protagonist first. Watching this pitiable scene, the hero already looks tired. He then leaps down from the tree. The protagonist rushes at one of the frozen goons, completely paralyzed with fear. With a swift, brutal move, he lands a devastating blow to the delinquent's face. The thug's face practically caves from the punch. Barely able to process it, he drops cold. With a cold gaze, the hero observes the result of his pinpoint strike. The gun falls to the ground, completely useless, zero chance of getting back up. As the thug collapses, the bottle he was holding shatters and flaming liquid spills everywhere. Baldy screams at his remaining thug to attack, but the hero just stands there, hands in his pockets, staring with an intimidating aura. The last goon makes a lame excuse about leaving the stove on, and bolts, abandoning Baldy. Enraged, Baldy curses the lackey for being an ungrateful punk and leaving him behind. The hero turns to face Baldy with a terrifying presence, asking, "What are you looking at?" His eyes flash, clearly not playing around. A cold sweat breaks across the terrified aggressor's face. He trembles with fear. Flaming bottles threaten the hero. They yell not to come any closer, but before they can do anything, the protagonist dashes at them, blurring forward with an agile move, and lands on Baldy, stopping the rest of the attack cold. Baldy, shocked by the strength and speed, knows he doesn't stand a chance. He switches to desperate tactics and starts pleading to the other classmates. The hero says, "Do me a favor, be quiet," and a single tear rolls from Baldy's eye. Without pity, the hero viciously attacks, snarling, "Shut your trap! Don't wake your mom!" Baldy, crying, says he'll call the cops, but the young man complains about the noise. As if on cue, a police cruiser appears. The officer the hero saved arrives and orders Baldy arrested. The bully protests that he's the victim and accuses the hero of breaking his leg. The furious cop snaps that the kid's dad never taught him how real officers handle things. He adds wryly that those who play with fire without understanding consequences get burned. The officer thanks the hero and offers to set up a project to recognize him, then says he has important business the next day. The next day, the rundown part of the city turns out to be full of old, collapsing buildings. The director steps into a puddle and complains, doubting whether demolition will be profitable. The hero offers one more important tip. The area is set to become a satellite city, a new industrial zone that will rocket property values. The director's face lights up. This is the right horse to back. Internally, the hero thinks they're just using each other. He'll take the biggest share. Walking on, the director asks the young man to slow down and suggests finalizing the urgent sales sign now. Inside, the hero offers $15,000 to the elderly owner to sign the contract. The old man hesitates, sad about leaving his place. The director asks why he's selling. The man explains his son got into gambling debt and collectors keep coming. Furious, the director calls the son a bastard. The hero finds it strange, too many coincidences. He approaches the old man and asks who the son owes money to. The owner reveals a creditor named Jinu or Lo. The old man adds the chain charges high interest. In the bar the owner works at, a man named Jinu appears, exactly the chain the hero suspected. The hero smirks, understanding what's happening, and begins hatching a plan. He tells the director to hold off on the contract. Now is not the time to relax, and says powerful men elsewhere are also waiting for opportunities. A powerful man lights a cigar and, addressed as Lord, watches a woman in a purple dress on the bed try to get his attention, asking him to let her be queen. He laughs, saying the Night's King has dominated the city's shady businesses, casinos, and loan sharks after midnight for 20 years. Back in the car, the director and hero drive down a dark, rainy street. The director warns that Jinu's Red Dog is dangerous, a gangster-connected chain family with capital. The hero's eyes widen. A memory of being betrayed by a pale man resurfaces, and a hatred-tinged smile crosses his face. The director, confused, asks if he knows the family. The hero says Jinu Chain does nothing but collect. Red Dog was bred by the Chain family. His eyes glow and his fists clench. It's time to collect interest from the Chain family for what was done. Suddenly there's a furious shout. "What did you say?" A henchman confirms the news. An old man sold his building. Someone else has taken the place. The manager arrives, and the henchmen beg for bags of money. The boss creates an uproar, then quietly checks a photo that shows the MC next to the director, identifying him as the one. Jinu wonders how the Yang family has always been sucking up. Who is that student? The manager can't find who ordered the child checked. The full report will come in 3 days. The thugs glare. The kid is threatened. Meanwhile, the hero and his friend approach the bar on a rainy night. The friend, arm trembling, asks what's going on. The friend explains the change in the underworld. The hero remains unfazed and asks which part of the plan is fair stakes. The friend hesitates, then the hero assures him, "If there's risk, I'll take it." The friend, worried for the place, finally gives in. With a careful grin, the hero waves goodbye and stays hidden, watching the sign that signals the gambling den. He thinks about visiting the boss of the underworld, hoping the crime boss won't be disappointed. Memories of police raids from his past life surface. The hero discovers a secret back door at the same place. At the door, he knocks to get attention. An employee opens a slot and speaks suspiciously, asking if it's business. The hero replies with the password indicated on the counter. The employee hesitates, then opens and welcomes him in. Inside, an employee recognizes the hero, asks if he's come to toss cash for the entertainment. 3 young women in show outfits appear and invite him in. They, the hero, and the girls overhear a desperate man begging to save his pawned house, pleading with the boss. An employee mocks him, calling him a loser. The hero, serious, replies, "Luck isn't everything." The girl is confused. The hero questions her. "This game is played for 100,000 in chips. It's a psychological game." He approaches a table where the dealer greets them. He smirks, thinking, besides psychology, tricks are involved. Players take positions. The dealer announces he will deal. The MC looks at his hand, Ace, King, Queen. A decent starting hand. He watches opponents and notices one man behaving strangely, ear-twitching, face tense. The protagonist realizes the man has a very strong hand. He looks at the long-headed guy but can't read his expression. Only notices a long fingernail. Quickly, the young man figures the mail is for another purpose, marking cards to cheat. The dealer says everyone should look at their cards. Anyone want to bet? Chubby guy calls and raises 5,000. Longhead only calls. The dealer turns to the hero. Looking him in the eye, the young man pushes all his chips in and announces, "All in." Everyone is shocked. Chubby guy is furious, wondering if the kid actually has such a strong hand. Longhead tenses, cold sweat breaking. He suspects it's a bluff. He looks at the dealer and pretends to be a newbie, asking if betting big with a big hand is better. The employee awkwardly agrees, and the young man sighs in relief. His opponents, confused and scared, assume he has a strong hand. Both players decide to fold, and the dealer announces the pot goes to the newbie. The dealer then says, "Show your cards," and everyone is stunned to see his hand isn't anything special. The guys complain. His hand was terrible, and they fell for a bluff. While both losers whine, the hero is already slipping away from the table, thinking he can't pull the same trick twice. The girl he met earlier approaches him, impressed by his quick win. She says he must be really lucky and tries flirting, offering to buy him a drink. But the hero declines, saying he's still in high school. The woman is shocked. He actually looks older. The hero takes the chance to ask if there are any fast-paced games around. With a mischievous look, she points to another table and says he'll find the thrill he's looking for there. At the new table, a crazy dice game is in full swing. Everyone is shouting bets frantically. The dealer shakes the dice cup, preparing for the result, but the hero focuses, listening carefully to the sound, trying to guess the numbers. Suddenly, he notices something. The last die lands with the 6 side down. The employee asks if anyone wants to place more bets. Without hesitation, the hero throws all his chips onto the table. Everyone is shocked. Everything on big. The dealer is stunned. The kid has already played several rounds and run them. The dice are revealed. The result is big, and everyone is floored by the hero's absurd luck. The employee grows desperate. He can't understand how this is possible. It's not like the kid has X-ray vision. Calmly, with a bored expression, the hero says, "Keep going. I want to win quick and go home to sleep." The dealer nervously wonders what he means by win quick. If this kid keeps winning on red, how will he explain it to the boss? Someone watching the security cameras wonders who this guy is who won't stop. In another room, the big boss snaps his cigar in half, furious, complaining the casino isn't a charity. He orders his Japanese woman to handle the situation with the young man. Other players gape at the hero's insane luck, wondering if he's the god of gambling. Some muttered they've never seen the house lose this badly. At that moment, the hall doors burst open. Everyone's attention snaps over. 2 massive security guards enter, escorting a mysterious woman. Her heels echo across the hall as she approaches the table, aura radiating dominance. The men are mesmerized, unable to look away. With a firm voice, she dismisses the dealer, who obeys without question. Her cold, calculating gaze studies the hero, who watches her with curiosity. The new dealer takes her place at the table, ready to take control and challenge the kid. The hero stares back, feeling like he's seen her somewhere, though he can't remember where. An older man appears and announces, "Miss Noma Chizuru will personally serve the gentleman." Hearing the name, the protagonist is stunned. In his past life, she was known in the Golden Triangle, an infamous figure. Chizuru places her hand on the dice cup, ready to begin the match. With a confident smile, she invites the hero to place his bet. If you want the next part, just comment.